Okay, sorry about that. Well, we didn't miss too much, except the approval of the minutes. So again, thank you for our guests. And if you have any, if the guests have anything to share with us, I'll check the, help me out. We'll check the chat and so throw something on the chat if you have a question or want to bring anything to our attention. So anyways, so starting with the title, and Deborah, please pipe up. I did incorporate your changes to the specifications, and they were excellent, by the way. And Steve, I added your 3 new whereas clauses. So I think you guys made really excellent improvements to the resolution, and I'm looking forward to how it's received by the CCC.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Point of information. So what you're saying is you added some of the changes that Deborah and I sent to you. This is the most updated document?
Absolutely. Everything's in here, and I put them in square brackets. And so they'll be obvious when we get to them where your changes are. Except some of the strikeouts that Deborah made, I just deleted the text, but they were very clean and very well done. So we'll focus mostly on her additions because the strikeouts were she struck out very superfluous language and cleaned up the text. So I'm going to go with what she had suggested, and we'll read them. And Stephen, if anything doesn't sound right, of course, let us know. So the title is Resolution Relating to the Retention of a Consultant to Assist the Community Collaborative Commission in the Design, Conduct, and Analysis of a Community Survey. Now, does that seem pretty tight? You all good with that?
Looks good. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. This resolution asks the City Clerk's office and the Department of Administration Purchasing Division to issue a request for proposals to enlist the services of a consultant to conduct a community survey as required by Common Council City File Number 191151. And I'm just going to keep on going. I'm relying on y'all to wake me up if there's any issues. Okay. Whereas Common Council File Number 191161, adopted on April 14th, 2020, establishes the Community Collaborative Commission, CCC, to seek community input on police department operations to improve trust between law enforcement and city residents as set forth in the Charles Collins et al. Versus City of Milwaukee et al. Settlement Agreement. And whereas the CCC is also to provide a forum for and solicit community input regarding law enforcement policies, procedures, and practices in Milwaukee, particularly with respect to the treatment of members of minority, LGBTQ+, disabled, and other historically underserved and underrepresented communities. And whereas the CCC is directed to conduct an annual survey of Milwaukee residents belonging to communities that are statistically more likely to interact with members of the police department about the residents' views on police-community relations. Whereas, I know it seems a little tedious to read this, but I'm just going to go ahead and
I do have one.
Go ahead then.
Yeah, I have a request for an additional, just a change in language.
Please do. What is it?
So, see where it says disabled. If you could just replace where it says disabled and add instead individuals with disabilities. It's a slight variation, but I think it might be, something that's a little bit more apropos or more appropriate. So that's all I had.
Well, that's great. And that's why sometimes reading out loud, when you hear something with, you just go, hey, that doesn't sound right. So that's a nice change. I appreciate that. Okay, so I hope you can see it reflected in the document. I'll continue. Whereas the CCC is directed to conduct an annual survey of Milwaukee residents belonging to communities that are statistically more likely to interact with members of the police department about the residents' views on community police relations. And the things I'm reading now are literally in the legislation that created the CCC, that recreated it as the Community Collaborative Commission. So this is just basically a recitation of the mandate given to the CCC. Whereas the CCC is to identify and evaluate the effectiveness of progressive policing strategies deployed in other cities, soliciting research and expert assistance as needed in relation to reducing disparities and improving police community relations. And whereas the CCC is to communicate community concerns regarding law enforcement policies, procedures, and practices in Milwaukee to the police department and the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, and to present an update to the Common Council on a quarterly basis. And whereas the CCC is to report annually to Common Council the Commission's findings and recommendations for policies, practices, and procedures to build trust between Milwaukee law enforcement and city residents. So beyond the title and the analysis, all those whereas clauses were all from the language of the legislation that authorizes CCC. Now, the next three whereas clauses are the ones that Steve just submitted, and I think they're excellent.
And Mr. Chairman, if you could press continue on that recording, just so that we can have a little clearer picture of the visual of the resolution. That box is that pop-up box is kind of blocking a little bit of.
Oh,
it.
I'm gonna close the pop-up box, and I will do that. I didn't. Let's see.
I think if you just press continue, it'll just disappear.
Why the recording is going. I don't want to pause it again. You know what I'm gonna do? I'll just refresh the screen here, see if that helps.
I think so. The box is just saying if you consent to being recorded. I don't think it'll stop anything.
I don't even see that box, but
yeah, you probably don't see it on your end. On our end, I can see it. So.
Oh, and it's blocking your view of the document?
Yeah, right in the center there. You probably have several windows up, so you're not sure. It's probably on the Zoom video link, on the Zoom video screen that you might have. Whatever your personal Zoom video that you have up is probably on that screen.
Stephen, and you checked continue on your side?
Oh, wow. I wasn't even hosting, it was on mine. Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, sort of you saying that you consent to your being recorded.
Ah, okay, well, I consent, that's cool. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
sure.
it.
Well, I'm learning this. I've never run a Zoom meeting until just recently, so that was really informative, Deborah. Thank you for troubleshooting that so quickly.
Oh, I'm proud. My limited technology comes in handy every once in a while.
Well, thank you. So now we're going to look
You're welcome.
Now we're going to look at the three whereas clauses that Steve just submitted. And like I said, I think they're excellent. So we just finished recapitulating what the CCC's mandate was given to by the Common Council. And now we're going to focus on what our job is here. Whereas the CCC formed the Community Survey and Research Committee to explore and conduct new ways of gathering data and knowledge pertaining to the public sentiment of the Milwaukee Police Department. So now, Deborah, I know you didn't have a chance to maybe see Steve's email, or maybe you did. I'm going to read that one more time. Whereas the CCC formed the Community Survey and Research Committee to explore and conduct new ways of gathering data and knowledge pertaining to the public sentiment of the Milwaukee Police Department. And I think that was a really good foundational whereas clause, Steve, to add. You know, why do we exist as a committee? So, but do either of you have any issues with that one? Okay, hearing nothing, we're going to accept that. We'll accept that change as Steve submitted. the second change Steve added was, whereas the CCC recognizes that the work done by the research and survey, I'm gonna just change this to be consistent. Whereas the CCC recognizes that the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the ongoing and perpetual effort of accountable and review of the MPD and its practices. Now, that sentence doesn't read too good. And Steve, can you just clarify that there's the order of the verbs or whatever? Can you help us out with what you're intended to say there?
So maybe you guys could help me kind of phrase it a little bit better, but the goal here in that paragraph is to demonstrate that our work is ongoing. It isn't just limited to the Charles Edsel versus City of Milwaukee agreement or the settlement that was made with the City of Milwaukee, which stipulates only 5 years or so. This is something that we hope to be something that's ongoing, where it's an ongoing effort, right, even after that, to try to ensure police accountability as well as engagement with the community, which is kind of in the next thing there. So
right. So when you say consistent with the ongoing and perpetual effort, and you say of accountable and review of the MPD. What if we say with the ongoing and perpetual effort to hold the MPD accountable? Or, I mean, that's what we're...
Yeah, I mean, I would say it appears I had a typo there. Perpetual effort of accountability and review. You could just change accountable to accountability. That might make it.
That's what I'm looking for. That's all it is. Accountability.
Right.
But yeah, that was a typo. Apologies.
No worries, man. That's we're okay. So now I'll read the whole whereas clause again. Whereas the CCC recognizes that the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the ongoing and perpetual effort of accountability and review of the MPD and its practices.
Yeah, I would say I have double verbs going on there. So perpetual and ongoing is very similar. Not verbs, adjectives or whatever. So I would say you could say either consistent with the ongoing effort of accountability, or you could say perpetual effort. Perpetual sounds a little bit more formal and really is consistent with the idea of like forever. But you could choose which one you want to use. It doesn't matter.
No. I Steve, this is your idea, man. What you express your intention.
Strike out ongoing. And I just wanted to have it say Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the perpetual effort of accountability and review of the MPD and its practices. Looks good to me. Thank you.
Now I just had a concern about what when you say the perpetual effort of accountability. I'm trying to put the word hold in there. It's like our perpetual duty is to hold them accountable, right? You know what I mean? The effort.
Yeah, duty is a good word. Duty instead of effort is a good word. Perpetual duty.
But it's not effort versus duty. It's the effort of accountability. I mean, I don't know, Deborah. What do you think about that?
I like the word accountability, and tell me again what the other issue is.
Well, I'll just read the whole sentence one more time, and I'm just wondering about how we're phrasing the accountability. What are we trying to express when we say of accountability? So here's the whole whereas clause again. Whereas the CCC recognizes that the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the perpetual effort of accountability and review of the MPD and its practices.
See, I probably would have changed the word perpetual effort to perpetual need for
that, the perpetual need for accountability and review.
unless, Stephen, you were focusing less on the need for it and more on the need for a specific body or committee responsible for.
So,
the-
yeah, I mean, I like the word need. Another option, because I don't like the word effort, so I'm glad that you really pointed that out, Paul. I would say either perpetual need or perpetual goal of accountability, something to that effect. But I think that need sounds better.
What about this? If I can jump in, what about the perpetual need for wait a minute, perpetual need, now I've lost it, perpetual need. Oh, perpetual need to ensure accountability and review.
Okay. The perpetual.
And I'm fine with that. I mean, it's no big deal.
So I think the choice could be either perpetual need for accountability and review or perpetual need to ensure. I think either one will work. So it's really a matter of word preference. And I'm fine with whatever y'all prefer.
And then the ensure there, you can spell that with an E.
Right, ensure.
Thank you, sir.
Minor thing, that's all. No big deal. It's cool.
All right. Yeah, all right. I'll read the whole whereas clause again, and we'll see how it reads now. Whereas the CCC recognizes that the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the perpetual need to ensure accountability and review of the MPD and its practices. I like that. What do you think?
Good stuff. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay. The third whereas clause that Steve suggested reads, whereas the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition of citizen empowerment and engagement. I like that one. Deborah, any issues with that one?
No. Well, yeah, one. Can you read it one more time?
Sure. Whereas the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition of citizen empowerment and engagement.
I guess I'd like us to consider adding responsibility for. So it's their tradition of and responsibility for. I just want to make sure that while it's great that there's this tradition, it's also the city's responsibility
to empower its citizens. Got it. Okay, so let's see. The City of Milwaukee's tradition of and responsibility to
yeah, it can be two.
Well, I messed myself up now. You said it just right. I should have just typed it immediately. Whereas the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition and responsibility. Help me finish it, Deborah.
Was it for citizen empowerment? Is that what it?
Yep. And engagement.
Yeah.
Okay. So
does that work for you, Stephen?
Yeah, sounds good.
It's consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition and responsibility. The tradition and responsibility for citizen empowerment and engagement, or to citizen, no, because it just reads, I'll read it again, pardon me. Whereas the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition and responsibility of citizen empowerment and engagement. So what the right word?
It's the city's tradition of, I think, tradition of and responsibility for
Mission
community empowerment and engagement.
Perfect. Mary, wow. You are a fine wordsmith, Deborah.
Well, thank you.
Whereas the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition of, I'm wondering if a comma would be appropriate there, the City of Milwaukee's tradition of and responsibility for, comma, citizen empowerment and engagement. So I'm
Yeah, I would leave out the comma after of, tradition of, and response.
leave them out.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, you don't need it.
I'm notorious over punctuating. I'll throw a semicolon at you if I can, you know.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Badass.
I'll read that one more time. Whereas the work done by the Research and Survey Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition of and responsibility for citizen empowerment and engagement.
Sounds good.
All right. You good to go, Steve?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Let's keep it going. Looks good so far.
Excellent. Whereas neither the members of the CCC nor its Survey and Research Committee have the requisite skills to execute the survey in a scientifically valid way. And whereas the survey must be conducted by an entity that is independent of the CCC and the City of Milwaukee. And whereas there is a sense of urgency to understand and address the root causes of distrust between Milwaukee law enforcement and city residents. And the last whereas data has consistently shown that there's evidence of a significant bias in the conduct of traffic stops, field interviews, searches, and frisks by the MPD against people of color. Now, therefore be it. And before I proceed, are y'all good to go with those last 5 whereas clauses?
I had going back to where it says requisite skills, whether, you know,
Okay.
whereas neither, yeah, requisite skills a little too harsh. I would say capability, maybe. Have the capability to execute.
Okay, nor is the survey and research, whereas neither the members of the CCC nor its survey and research committee has the capability.
Yeah, have is fine. HAVE is.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Have the capability. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, well, let's read it one more time. Whereas neither the members of the CCC nor its survey and research committee, I don't think we need a comma there. Correct me if I'm wrong. One more time. Whereas neither the members of the CCC nor its survey and research committee, I guess there should be a comma there. Put it back in. One more time. Whereas neither the members of the CCC, comma, nor its survey and research committee, comma, have the capability to execute the survey in a scientifically valid way. And it goes on to the next one. That's a great suggestion, Stephen. Deborah, are you okay with that?
Yep, I'm fine.
Yeah, I just want to say I want to make sure just in the document if we can be consistent with whether it's research and survey or survey and research.
Well,
I think it's research and you research before you do the survey. So I think it probably should be research and survey first, like research and survey committee.
Well, you know what I've been doing. I called it the committee is called the Survey and Research Committee.
Right. Yeah.
So in the document, Oh, okay, so here, I see what you're saying, Stephen. I'm gonna change it up here too.
Yeah, as long as it's consistent, I'm cool. So we're cool with it.
Yeah, I do agree with you though, Stephen, that research and survey seems more appropriate, but as long as it's consistent, whatever
Well,
we use, I'm fine.
yeah, and and just at this point, given that the committee is named the Survey and
Right.
Research Committee, I do just,
Yeah.
we,
Yeah. It's
here's
just
another
simpler
thing.
to keep with that.
Thanks for pointing that out, that the document was not consistent. And hopefully we can preserve 5 minutes at the end here that we can talk about some research, because I think that's a major part of what this committee is mandated to do. And I have an item on the agenda that I hope we really can get a minute to touch on. But this is the priority right now, so we're going to give this as much
Right.
time as it needs.
Well, just keep in mind, I have to end my participation in about a minute or two before 6.
And thanks again, Deborah, for adjusting your schedule and fitting in here. It's really great. And so we're going to focus on closing the deal on this. And if we have time, we'll get to what the thing I want to talk about. Otherwise, it's just going to wait. But this is a top priority, and we want to present the finished product. As soon as we're done with this meeting, I'm going to send it off to the executive committee of the CCC, so they have it in their hands as soon as possible, because it is on the agenda for the meeting on the 29th. So we really need to focus our priority on getting this item completed, and we're well on the way. So let's, okay, so I think we're done. We think we're up to the resolve clause now. Do you have any more suggestions to the whereas clauses? Okay, and at the close of the meeting, I'll send you both a hard copy of the document as well, along with the executive committee, so that if for some reason something didn't get, translated properly, you can call it out immediately. Okay, so at the resolved clause, now therefore be it resolved by the Community Collaborative Commission that the office of the Common Council City Clerk is asked to requisition a request for proposals, RFP, to conduct an annual survey of Milwaukee residents belonging to communities that are statistically more likely to interact with members of the police department about the residents' views on police community relations. Is that a pretty good resolve statement there?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
All right. Further resolved that this RFP be drafted with the specifications listed in the document attached to this file in mind. That this RFP be drafted with the specifications listed in the document attached to this file in mind. Okay, got it. Okay, so here are the requested specifications. And again, thank you, Deborah, for your careful reading of this. And I have your changes in square brackets here as we encounter them. And as we approve them, we'll just remove the square brackets. The first one. Now this is what the procurement office at the city of Milwaukee is going to use. They're going to write the RFP. So we're not going to compose the exact RFP. They're going to do it for us based on our specifications. So if there's anything that you want communicated in that RFP, this is the place to make sure it is included. The consultant should agree to participate in a presentation and public discussion of their proposal to answer questions from the community. I'm sorry, I stumbled on that. I'm going to read it one more time.
Yeah. Sure. And just so you know, Paul, there's a Payson in the chat box is suggesting that you change the language from citizen to resident, which sounds a little bit more local. Payson said that. I don't know which paragraph it was, but
I appreciate you pointing that out to me, Steve. I've been so focused looking at my screen here. I totally missed that. And I closed my chat button because somebody suggested that chat window might be causing some trouble, man. So,
Thank you, Kason, for your suggestion. We'll try to get working on
oh,
that.
that must have been a private chat. I didn't see it. So, Steve, help me out with where that word citizen is appearing.
Yeah, I just saw it, so I'm assuming.
Well, I can search for it here.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's in the toward the resolve section, but that's what I'm guessing. But
Well, there's one in the resolve section. It does say use the word resident, but I'm gonna I'm hitting Control F here, and it's not. I don't see my search box coming up.
Was it in one of Stephen, your suggestions where we went to, was it citizen engagement and empowerment, or
that might be it.
was it community? Okay.
Okay, I'm getting up there now. Yeah, there it is. Whereas the work done by the Survey and Research Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition of and responsibility for. Now, Kason is suggesting we say resident empowerment and engagement. Kason, if you can throw something on the chat, are we getting your suggestion correct, ma'am? I don't see. Feel free to throw it on the chat, Kason. I don't see anything from you there. You must have private texted that to Stephen.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten anything, Paul. I believe.
He said, yeah. That's the spot he had in mind. So, Kason, I got to defer to the committee members here. Kason is suggesting we change the word citizen to resident in that sentence, and I'll read it one more time with the word resident in there. Whereas the work done by the Survey and Research Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition of and responsibility for resident empowerment and engagement. Did I get Deborah?
I'm fine with that.
Stephen?
Sounds good.
Okay. Kason, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kason.
I'm making an assumption that Kason is a male. I apologize if that is not correct. Okay, one more time. Whereas the work done by the Survey and Research Committee is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's tradition of and responsibility for resident empowerment and engagement. Okay, we got it. Thank you very much, Kason. Okay, so we read Deborah's first requested specification change, and she added the word in a presentation, not only a public discussion, but that they would do a presentation as part of the public discussion. I'm assuming is what Deborah intended to communicate there, and I think that was a very good suggestion. The next,
Yeah, I want to.
Go ahead.
Yes, you're right. I want to make sure that the ones that we select are good at making presentations and can communicate their issues and their findings and just what they're going to do initially to not just a committee or officials, but to the public.
Yep. And that'll give us a chance to see how well they can do that, right?
Exactly.
All right. The second one, and I'm going to try to rush a little bit just to make sure we get off that we can go through this while so Deborah can comment. The consultant should have a diverse team that fully reflects the racial, ethnic, and cultural background of the target communities. Okay. There were no changes to that. The next one, Deborah inserted the words execution of, and then a phrase at the end. So I'll read the whole thing as Deborah suggests. The execution of the survey should be completed by December 31st, 2021, at which time a preliminary report will be submitted to the Survey and Research Committee and a final report submitted to the Survey and Research Committee by January 21st, 2022.
I did that for two reasons. One, my experience in conducting research and finalizing reports is that it can sometimes take a little longer than we want. And Stephen, I know you want us to be done by the end of the year, so that's why I was saying let them give us a preliminary report by the end of the year. That way we also have time to review it and make any suggestions or recommendations to them before they totally finalize it. But we still give them a deadline so it's not going on forever.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy compromise, and I think that was a brilliant idea. So I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
So let it be, and I'm going to take the square brackets away, and that is part of the document. The next specification, excuse me, Deborah added a sentence at the beginning. This is it. The consultant will utilize the draft survey created by the Survey and Research Committee to develop a final survey. The consultant will meet 3 to 5 times with the CCC's Survey and Research Committee to review its proposed questions and help focus and refine them to best accomplish the survey goals. So I thought that was a very good and appropriate addition, that we are going to provide them a draft of some survey questions. Any comments on it, Deborah? You want any clarifications?
No, I think you said it. That's it.
Stephen, good?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, so be it. The consultant should, and Deborah inserted, identify and utilize the best way to reach the target population to achieve the survey's goals. And that was just a much cleaner way of stating it, and I appreciate that suggestion. So I'll read it one more time. The consultant should identify and utilize the best way to reach the target population to achieve the survey's goals. Everybody good with that one? Okay. Just a couple more. Oh, there's someone trying to get in here. I'll just let him in. Okay. Thank you for joining us, Cordella Jones. We're almost done here. The consultant will execute the survey, analyze the results, and create reports that accurately interpret the data. Here's a sentence that Deborah added. The consultant will adhere to professional methods to ensure the validity, reliability, and quality of the work, interview process, and reports.
Hello. Mhm.
Okay. Cordella, I don't see Cordella anymore. So maybe she dropped out. But I got a little distracted. I don't think I did that sentence justice. Deborah added an explanation of what really a scientific survey should entail.
Nice.
And I'll read it again. The consultant will execute the survey, analyze the results, and create reports that accurately interpret the data. The consultant will adhere to professional methods to ensure the validity, reliability, and quality of work, interview process, and reports. And I think I unmuted Deborah by mistake here.
It looks good to me. I like it.
Deborah, I muted you by mistake, so I'm asking you to unmute. I was wondering if you were coming through. I don't know. I messed up. So Deborah, please forgive me and unmute yourself if you want to say something. But that was a very good change. And there's 2 more to go. The consultant will be asked to participate in the presentation of the survey results to the CCC, FPC, Common Council Steering and Rules Committee, and Deborah added 2 to 3 presentations for the community. And I thought that was totally appropriate. And that was a question mark that Jim Osarski had raised, and Deborah answered that question. So we're good. I think everybody good on that one?
Yep, sounds good.
Well, I hope Deborah's not trying to say something, because
Yeah, and Deborah, if you're trying to say something, well, I guess she can't go in the chat box, can you? Because she's on the phone, isn't she? So
Yeah, she might not be seeing this. I really apologize, Deborah, for I heard something and I hit mute on you, and I thought it was the new the person that joined the meeting. Anyways, I apologize. Uh, okay, the last one, Deborah again added some good changes here. A long sentence. The consultant vendor will be expected to meet with the CCC or the Survey and Research Committee. So she posed that as a question. Do we want to say meet with the CCC or meet with the Survey and Research Committee? Just,
I would say, well, I would say both, right? I mean,
but it's on a bi-weekly basis at a minimum during the
oh,
design. I think it should just be the Survey and
CCC.
Research Committee.
Oh, okay.
Well, here, I'm sorry, Steve, I'm jumbling it up. The consultant vendor will be expected to meet with the CCC or the Survey and Research Committee, question mark, by Deborah, on a bi-weekly basis at a minimum during the design, execution, and analysis of the survey. So Steve, you're on the executive committee. Would you prefer to see the consultant meeting with the full CCC or focus that bi-weekly meeting on just this committee?
Yeah, I do agree that it's probably best to have the survey and research committee doing that, especially because they're the ones who have developed the survey and actively involved in that process. And it's a survey-oriented activity that's specific to the committee as well within the jurisdiction of CCC. So I agree. I think it's best for the research and survey committee to be involved in that.
Okay, so we're going to adopt Deborah's suggestion and substitute Survey and Research Committee for the CCC. So I'll read it again. The consultant vendor will be expected to meet with the Survey and Research Committee on a bi-weekly basis at a minimum during the design, execution, and analysis of the survey. And then Deborah added, and will provide a progress report at these meetings. She also said the consultant will communicate in writing to the Survey and Research Committee in a timely manner regarding any issues that hinder the timely quality completion of the contracted work. And I thought those were excellent suggestions. Stephen, would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, Deborah, again, I really apologize for muting you, and I don't know why I did that, and you probably not seen an option on your phone in to unmute, but I can't take it back. So that would be that's it, and at this point, I don't know if I'm reluctant to try to introduce another agenda item. So we're just gonna have to put the discussion of the search warrant SOP and the role of this committee really in doing research in general. I really think it's important that we do come to terms with that. Steve, bear with me. I just want to read something from the second annual report of the Crime and Justice Institute. And the second annual report on page 32, they say, a key requirement of the agreement is that the FPC publish, quote, data on all traffic stops, field interviews, no action encounters, frisks, and searches, with the exception of any personally identifiable information. Then the CGI says the FPC is required to post the stop data on an annual basis and has thus far posted data on a quarterly basis. It is important for community members in Milwaukee to access and understand policing stop data, but the manner in which the data is posted precludes that at this time. Then they go on to say, the published data sets are numerous and complex, in part reflecting the systems, excuse me, in part reflecting the systems and structures behind the data extraction. In their current form, These data files do not allow an average community member to easily review the data and get a good picture of stops in Milwaukee, which is the intent of the public posting requirement. We have encouraged the defendants to make these data more accessible to public, noting that this more accessible format is not an explicit requirement of the settlement agreement. So I know we're out of time. I just want to put that on the table that the settlement agreement requires the FPC to publish MPD stop data. The data has been published. It's very hard to decipher. And I could be wrong, but I may be the only person in the community that has actually independently loaded that data into a database and graphed it. And I would like to go over that, what I've done so far with that data with y'all, but it's going to take more than a minute. And I hope that you understand why I think it's important. It's really, we cannot rely on CJI 100% to give us all the feedback on that data. They're not asking the questions that we need to ask or that we may have. So I've talked a lot there, Steve. Did you want to make a comment on that?
Sure. So thank you very much for that, and I think that's a great segue. And if you could present that in the next meeting as well as kind of a starting point. I would say kind of a heads up for those listening who may not know. I'm the co-chair of the CCC, and I've been in discussions with CJI to try to bring them into one of the larger CCC meetings to give a presentation and maybe answer some questions that anyone has. So stay tuned for that. They've indicated a willingness to answer questions that we may have, give a presentation, explain things a little bit. So just stay tuned, Paul. It's looking like probably in the next month or two, that might be something that's a possibility for you, when you have for the greater CCC coming up. So just stay tuned for that. And yeah, I mean, look forward to hearing more what you had to say on this. And, it's been great reading the reports, trying to analyze it, and just a deeper dive, I think, is always a good thing. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. That's really great, Steve. And so with that in mind, I think it would be very valuable for this committee to just take a peek at the data, and I'll lay it all out for you what's there, because like I said, the CJI, I mean, those people are top notch, but they might not be asking the questions that we want to ask, and that data is just laying there for us to take a look at. It's part of the settlement agreement. CJI is saying the community should be looking at it, but it's hard to decipher it. I have a 24-year database background at Northwestern Mutual. I didn't do database work the whole 24 years, but I have extensive database background. I loaded all that data from the first 2 years into a database. I'm graphing the traffic stops, the field interviews, the no action encounters using Tableau. I've got probably 25 different graphs on Tableau of the data, and I want you to take a peek at it. And most importantly, there are a lot of issues with the data, and CJI is doing yeoman's work. They're going above and beyond the call of duty to clean up the mistakes in the MPD data, to try to make sense of it. But the average person on the street, I mean, there's no way that we can do the same level of apply the same level of expertise to clean up the data that CJI is employing. I mean, I'll leave it there. But I want to introduce what I've done so far and inform you of where the issues are in the data. Because if we don't speak up, if the CCC does not speak up, nobody's going to make sure that these data issues are fixed. And we're going to be 4 or 5 years into the settlement agreement and still have screwed up data that the public cannot readily digest. So, okay, we'll leave it at that. Steve, are you good? Like in 2 weeks, or do you want to take August off, or should we get together in 2 weeks, ma'am?
Yeah, I think it would be great to get together in 2 weeks and try to schedule something in August. I think that's a good idea to keep it moving. And, there's a possibility that, after this next meeting that we might be sending an invite out to CJI, the Criminal Justice Institute, which is, for those who may not know, as part of the settlement agreement with the Milwaukee Police Department, CJI was the firm that was hired to present some reports regarding stop and frisk and some of the data associated with that. And so that's kind of the central kind of part of what we're discussing at the tail end of things here, because Paul has some concerns about the data that is being presented by CJI and whether it's telling the whole picture of kind of what's been going on. So I think it would be great to meet, and hopefully we can have kind of more of an update on some things as well. So August sounds good. Generally 6 o'clock in the evening is a better time for me, but I would just say just in the evenings in general really widens my schedule and makes it better. So
Well, you know what? I'll throw it out to you all that we'll go 2 weeks from now. That will give us the time. 2 weeks from today would be August 9th, or we can wait till the 16th. What you want to pick one?
yeah, August 9th is fine.
Okay, I'll send you and Deborah an email on that and get a confirmation. And I hope to get these meetings done right the first time, so I don't have to make Linda keep redoing our work. And I messed up that we had a meeting back like on July, well, I don't know, long time ago, that I messed up because I forgot to get the agenda posted. So I'm glad we got together today. Thank you for making yourselves available, and we'll try to get together on August 9th, and we'll take it from there. And I'll send out the resolution immediately, and if there's anything wrong, get back to me right away.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Paul. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, excellent. Okay, sorry, Deborah, we lost you, but we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
All right, bye.